at the altar in all white dress. We ain't getting no younger, we might as well do it. I must confess, let's get married.
In the early 90s, Escape was all over the place. The group consisting of Tamika Tiny Harris, Latasha Scott, Tamika Scott and Candy Burruss released their debut album called Humming Coming At Ya. The album peaked at number 17 on the Billboard 200 and eventually went platinum. The ladies were finally achieving everything they had dreamed about since they were kids. Throughout their journey to the top, the ladies never stopped hustling. Candy Burruss in particular was responsible for putting Jagged Edge in the spotlight, introducing the male group to So Def's Jermaine Dupri. From that moment on, Jagged Edge was birthed. Before the group made it big, they were just kids with ambitions of achieving fame. The twins Brandon and Brian Casey had a group with the name Twin AK. They were very active in the music sphere and had been appearing in various auditions around their city. After Kyle witnessed them in a local Atlanta choir contest, he did all he could to convince them to team up to create the group, which would later be known as Jagged Edge. Going to their roots, the Casey brothers were actively involved in the church choir and went on several choir competitions. They were born in the mid-70s to Wayne and Linda Casey. Like a lot of artists, their involvement in music started from their home. Their mother Linda Casey was a jazz singer, and this helped them gain a better grasp of music. Before the Casey brothers made Kyle, they were heavily involved in music. They were also songwriters and wrote a bulk of their own material. The later addition to the group, Richard Wingo, was born in College Park, Georgia. For him, he was always surrounded by music as his father owned an adult club. His attraction to music came from this source. Now Kyle Norman also hails from Georgia and was the main propagator of the group idea. At the recommendation of Escape's Candy Burruss, Richard Wingo joined the group to become its fifth member. The name Jagged Edge was coined from a movie title of the same name, and there and then they came forth with their demo tape. It became a jackpot for them as it led to their first record deal. Although it was very fascinating that they could land a deal, or so it seemed, it was very fleeting. The first deal they got was with Bivens, and it went up in flames almost immediately. Sometimes, disappointments lead to blessings in disguise. This particular one was just that. A huge blessing. After a failed record deal with Bivens, they got in touch with Jermaine Dupri of So Def Records through Candy Burruss. Candy Burruss introduced the quartet to Jermaine Dupri, and they gained a chance to audition before him. He didn't just find their sound intriguing. He was blown away, to a point that he offered them a record deal. They later sealed the deal and became a part of So Def, the first all-male group signed to Jermaine Dupri. Throughout their career, Jagged Edge put out multiple hits, however they clearly aren't as relevant as they once were, leaving their fans wondering what happened to Jagged Edge. What up guys, Ali here and welcome to Ali Talks Music. Add me on Instagram at Ali Talks Music as well. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Now let's get into the video.
Telling you that I gotta be the one you feel, and I gotta be the one to fill your life with sunshine. I gotta be the one you know, 'cause I will always love you so. I gotta be the one you need. I'm just telling you that gotta be.
There you go.
Sounds just like they sound.
The song is called Hope. Y'all all selling hope.
Right.
Hope.
Selling
hope.
Give
me
me
the
that.
I like that.
Hey, let me tell you something.
After joining So Def, Jagged Edge immediately came out with a single titled The Way That You Talk. The single made its way to the 34th spot on the US Billboard Hot R&B Hip Hop Singles chart. They had a fine start, but they were not done. They released a second single to follow up the first. The single titled I Gotta Be was more of a success than their debut single. It exceeded its predecessor by far and made its way to the 23rd spot on the Billboard Hot 100. Their career seemed to be booming with back-to-back success, but it's one thing to start and it's another to remain consistent. After Jagged Edge released their first two singles, the music community accepted them with open arms. The group was on a high. The feeling was so euphoric in fact that it drove them to release their first album titled Jagged Era. The album came out in the late 90s. Jagged Era came in at number 104 in the Billboard 200. Considering the level of success they achieved with their first two singles, this wasn't very pleasant. They found consolidation because the album fared better on the R&B hip-hop albums chart, clinching the 19th spot. Despite the album's chart performance, the album did moderately well, selling over 500,000 copies in the US alone. It took about 3 years before the group came out with another album. However, when it came out, it managed to reach expectations. They released their second album in the early 2000s, titled J.E. Heartbreak. It was initially supposed to be released a year before, but it was held back. Despite this, they did better this time. The album was a huge comeback for the group and essentially put them on the map. The album spawned 4 singles, which include Keys to the Range, He Can't Love You, Let's Get Married, and Promise. Keys to the Range was the first single off the album, but it didn't do that well on the chart. It was very discouraging for the group, but they kept going. They released a second single off the album called He Can't Love You. The second single became the first single from the group to make it to the top 20 positions on the Billboard Hot 100, when it sat comfortably at the number 15 position on the chart. Let's Get Married was the group's third single off the album and went on to become one of their biggest singles alongside Where the Party At. Let's Get Married made it to the 11th position on the US Billboard Hot 100 chart and topped other charts consecutively. The last single off the album was a song called Promise, which also topped the Hot R&B Singles chart for 2 weeks. At this point, Jagged Edge was on fire. Their debut album was later certified platinum by the RIAA and also did well in other countries. Now in 2003, the group released another album called Hard. Sales grew until it attained a gold certification by the RIAA. Around 2006, the group released a fifth album called Jagged Edge. This album came in at number 4 in the Billboard 200 and stayed at the second position on the R&B hip-hop albums chart. The group broke ties with Columbia Records afterwards and camped with Jermaine Dupri's So So Def Records. This time, Island Def Jam was responsible for the distribution. After this, it was time for Jagged Edge to fire again with another album, and they released one called Baby Making Project. After the Baby Making Project, which was their 6th album, they signed to Slippin' Records around 2009 and released their 7th studio album called The Remedy. This album came out around 2011. After that, Jagged Edge didn't stop releasing albums. They released one in 2014, one in 2017, and one in 2020. In the music world, it's very common for beef to occur between some artists, especially ones that occupy a similar lane. I guess now is a great time to talk about Kyle Norman versus the thong song originator, Cisco. Now Kyle has been known for his short temper, and this was seen in a 15-minute video on the internet around 2014. The footage revealed the backstage fight between Kyle Norman and Cisco, one which started because Kyle thought Cisco was ignoring him in an elevator. According to Cisco, he was half asleep and didn't even notice Kyle Norman at all. Now how arrogant and in your feelings do you have to beat a man who ignored you? That's a whole nother level of insecurity right there. The two men were later said to have settled their differences and shook hands. Like I said earlier, in the world of music, competition is always inevitable. This time it applies to Jagged Edge and 112. If you think about it, both groups are from Atlanta. Both groups made similar music, so naturally the fans compared them. According to 112, there was a time when people were either Jagged Edge fans or 112 fans. Now the desire to be the best is usually the driving force that ignites competition. Sometimes that leads to beef, creating rivalries that could last a lifetime. In this case, this didn't happen. 112 and Jagged Edge were able to make amends very quickly, and that's probably because the entire beef between them was fabricated, at least from one side. Let's be real, controversy sells in the game. R&B singers having beef? That's crazy. But we see that as an opportunity to make money. You're saying we're the baddest in Atlanta, we're saying we're the baddest in Atlanta. Let's prove it. People wanna see that. People wanna see controversy. According to 112, they started a fake beef with Jagged Edge because they wanted to go on tour with them, combining both fan bases. The only problem was, 112 didn't tell Jagged Edge that there was a fake beef, resulting in a lot of back and forth tension between the groups.
Because I'm the one that started. I'm the actual one that got on the radio and started the whole thing.
What did you say? What did you say? Yeah.
I just because basically what was said was, you know, we felt like we were the better group. You know
I
what I'm
just want to
saying?
know what was you hoping to gain by starting to beef with Jagged Edge? Like, I
We
don't
wanted to talk. Like,
Now,
we wanted,
last
like,
year, Jagged Edge and 112 competed in a versus battle, proving that artists in the same lane don't always have to be at each other's necks. Now, let's take a second to talk about Kyle Norman. Like I said earlier, Kyle has a very short temper. This was known amongst his group members and more evident in his home. The public caught wind of it after he was arrested around 2016. According to police reports, the singer's wife called the police department around 5 a.m. to report the case. She had just woken up to hear noises coming from the kitchen and find out that Kyle was dealing heavy blows to his son. Kyle's son revealed his father lashed out at him only when he challenged his father's threatening behavior. According to the police, when they showed up, they saw Kyle trying to clean up the mess and found bloodstains everywhere in the messy house and on his shirt. When questioned about the bloodstains on his shirt, Kyle claimed it was from a motorbike accident from earlier. Upon closer inspection, the cops smelled the strong odor of alcohol on Kyle's breath. Kyle was later arrested for charges bordering on domestic violence, battery, property damage, and obstruction, cruelty to children in the third degree. According to Kyle's lawyer, Kyle was innocent of all charges, and the police didn't have all their facts right. The couple even appeared on the Steve Harvey show to work out their marital issues. And according to Kyle, this was the first time that he ever put hands on anybody in his home.
I'm truly sorry. I'm sorry, baby. I would never, ever cause harm to you. I don't never want to lose you. I want you.
It's okay.
I just want our fans to know that I'm Kyle. Kyle made a mistake. But I got to continue to be a better person.
Kyle was later arrested and charged that same year. Now, according to Beyonce's father, Matthew Knowles, a few members of Destiny's Child were sexually harassed by a few members of Jagged Edge. And this happened while they were on tour together in the 2000s. In a move that he regrets today, Matthew placed Destiny's Child and Jagged Edge on the same tour bus without thinking about the potential consequences of placing adult males and underage females in the same vicinity. Now remember, the girls are minors. They're 16 years old. The guys are 21 and 22 years old. I have a fiduciary duty with the minors. By law, there's a certain way I have to manage that. Matthew then got a call from Beyonce and Kelly, and what he heard was one of every father's worst nightmares. I got a call from Kelly and Beyonce saying that they were constantly being harassed by two of the members in Jagged Edge. After that, Matthew was not happy and kicked Jagged Edge off the bus. I couldn't have that. I literally had to put the guys off the bus in Baton Rouge, LA. That began all this drama. Now, this is just one side of the story. According to the members of Jagged Edge, there was a different chain of events that led to them being kicked off the bus. According to Latavia, Jagged Edge were booted off the bus for standing up for LaToya Luckett's mother, who was allegedly threatened to be kicked off the tour bus by Matthew Knowles if she got on the bus.
We were somewhere in Louisiana, and LaToya's mother, Miss Pam, we called her, was gonna ride on the bus with us. And our management was like, if Pam gets on that bus, then y'all are gonna lose your job.
We were like, hell no, like, you're not finna kick somebody's mother off a bus, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no.
Jagged Edge stood up for Miss Pam because it's wrong. You can't just leave this girl's mother.
We were asked to leave. We got kicked off the bus.
Now the crazy thing is, while on tour, two members of both groups started dating. Brandon Casey started seeing Robertson, while Brian Casey started seeing Luckett. I don't know about you guys, but this sounds very messy, and YouTube probably won't allow me to talk about this topic any further. Now around 2014, Jagged Edge nearly got involved with the law over a minor disagreement. While attending Jermaine Dupri's birthday bash at a club in Atlanta, Jagged Edge got kicked out for being underdressed, showing up in hoodies and caps. So I got all dressed up, brought all my people out, and security at the Gold Room told Jagged Edge they have to leave if they didn't take their hats off. According to Jagged Edge, they were in the club for about 35 minutes before management decided to kick them out. After Jagged Edge refused to take off their hats, a war of words ensued. Security got cast out, and eventually the cops were called, shutting down the entire event. Then they had the police come out and put my peoples out and up the whole night. As far as I'm concerned, that's the most disrespectful you can do to the people that put on for the city. Now, what is Jagged Edge up to today? They're still making music and released their most recent album, A Jagged Love Story, on July 30th, 2020. This is the group's 10th album and it has 31 tracks on it, proving that some acts don't need a label to survive. Legacy is all A Jagged Story is about our love for music, what we do, and the fans that allow us to do it. Thank you for allowing us to intersect. People are reacting so positively to this album because the labels have all gone away from or rationed our R&B diet. But as a culture, we need our souls fed by good music, good lyrics, and good voices. We always have. Now, apart from doing music, Jagged Edge have also joined the podcast game, coming in with a podcast called Views from the Edge. It can be found on YouTube and focuses on the ins and outs of the music industry. Currently, the channel has under 500 subscribers, but if they're consistent enough, it'll probably increase over time. As of now, the channel has only been active for about 3 months. Jagged Edge gets about 2.5 million monthly listeners on Spotify, and their most popular songs on the platform are Where the Party At, Let's Get Married, I Gotta Be, He Can't Love You, and Promise.
Yeah, going down. Jagged Storm. Ha ha, what up, y'all?
It feels good.
No doubt, man. We got that's right.
Brandon, Brian, Richard, and myself.
Wingo and Kyle.
And Wingo.
Kyle.
Man, my bad, we ain't there.
I'm just not spending our own coffee, but that album is jamming, dog. I mean, for real, man. I mean,
And you gotta understand though, it's 31 songs.
31.
So I mean, like you can clean the house, you can cook out.
If I felt like that you was in some kind of danger,
Just me to be like,
no, when it's over,
it's nothing you can do when it's over. Like, ain't no fixing shit. You can spend on money on that.
This week's post notification shoutouts go to Rusanda Holly once again, Drilano, and Sincere Jones. Thanks for being a part of the fam and turning on your notification bell. That's it for me, man. It's your boy Ali. What happened to Jagged Edge in your opinion? Let me know down below. If you have a video request, be sure to let me know as well. Also add me on Instagram at Ali Talks Music. Till next time, peace.